Hello everyone, today we will discuss soluble mediators of immunity. Soluble mediators of immunity. So these soluble mediators of immunity, they contain three types. They are containing three types of the cells. One is the first one, they are the complement proteins. First one, complement proteins. Complement proteins. Complement proteins. Second one, cytokines. Second one, cytokines. Cytokines. Second one, cytokines. Third one, antibodies. Third one, antibodies. Third one, antibodies. So the previous class we will discuss antibodies. Previous class we will discuss antibodies. So this class we will discuss complement proteins and cytokines. Complement proteins and cytokines. First one, complement proteins. First one, complement proteins. Complement proteins. So these complement, these are a group of inactive plasma proteins. It is these are a group of inactive plasma proteins. These are a group of inactive plasma proteins and cell surface proteins and cell surface proteins. Cell surface proteins. So the complement proteins means these are a group of inactive plasma proteins. Group of inactive plasma proteins are surface proteins or cell surface proteins or cell surface proteins. Next, when they are activated, when activated, they form a membrane attack complex. So they are the membrane attack complex. So the group of inactive plasma proteins and cell surface proteins. So they are the inactive state. After activated, they form a membrane attack complex. MAC, membrane attack complex. So they are converting to the membrane attack complex. So that forms that force in the plasma membrane of a affected cell. So these membrane attack cells, they are pores. For example, so these are the affected cell. Affected cell means the pathogens. They are infecting the pathogens, these cells. So the pathogens, so they are affecting these cells. So these membrane attack complex cells, they are pores on the affected cell. Pores on the affected cells. So means pores on the affected cells. These membrane attack complex, this membrane attack complex, they are pores on the affected cell. So the extracellular fluid, the force allowing to the extracellular fluid into the affected cells. So the extracellular fluid, ECF means extracellular fluid, they entering into the affected cell. So the affected cell. So they make them swell and burst means, so these are the extracellular fluid entering into the affected cell. The affected cell is swelling. Affected cell is swelling and burst. Swelling and burst means, so they are the cell size is increases. cell size is increases. After increase, the cell is bursting. The cell size is bursting. So the affected cell is dying. So they are the membrane attack complex, like complement proteins. Next one, another type. Some of the form the coat on the surface of the pathogens. Some of the complement proteins. For example, so they are the pathogen. Some of the complement proteins, they are formation of the membrane. The complex proteins, they are formation of membrane of the complex proteins. They attracting to the phagocytes, so the some of them coat on the surface of the pathogens. Some of the coat on the surface of the pathogens. So the coat on the surface of pathogens. So these after the surface the coat is the formation, so they are the pathogen. So this pathogen, they are covering the coat, they are interacting, so they are the attract the neutrophils and macrophages, attracting the neutrophils and macrophages. They attracting the neutrophils and macrophages. So these cells, they are the phagocytos, eating to the foreign particles. Like these foreign particles are the eating. So they are called as complement proteins. Next one, the complement proteins and their activities and together called as complement system. These are called as complement system. They are called as complement system. So they are the complement proteins. Once revised, so the complement proteins, these are a group of inactive plasma proteins and cell surface proteins. Inactive plasma proteins and cell surface proteins. So these are activated, they are form a membrane attack complex. They are converted to the membrane attack complex, MAC. So these membrane attack complex pores on the affected cells, the allowing to the extracellular fluid. The extracellular fluid allowed to the affected cell. After the allowing to the extracellular fluid, the cell size is increases, swelling the cell. After they are bursting on the affected cell, So they are the one type. Another type of the complement proteins, the pathogens, they are covering the formation of the coat. They are surrounding the coat. They are attracting to the neutrophils and macrophages. These neutrophils and macrophages, they are phagocytos, eating to the foreign particles. So these are the complement proteins. The effects, they are called as complement system. They are called as complement proteins. Next one, second one, cytokines. Second one, cytokines. So the cytokines, they are small, soluble molecules, secreted by TH cells or infected cells. TH cells are infected cells. They bind to cell surface of receptors. Cell surface cell surface of receptors, cell surface of receptors, activation of and initiate and activation and initiate or activation, initiate or activate, initiate or activation of the differentiation, differentiation of the cells, differentiation of the cells of the immune system, of the immune system, immune system. So they are these cytokines, they are the small soluble molecules. They are secreted by the TH cells are the infected cells. TL cells are infected cells. These cells activation of the immune system. Activation of the immune system means, so they are the differentiation of the cells of the immune system. Next one, they are the mainly two types. They are mainly two types. First one is the interleukins, interferons. Interleukins and interferons. Interleukins and interferons. First one, interleukins and interferons. First one, interleukins. They are produced by the leukocytes and are primarily involved in the differentiation of the cells of immune system. So they are producing from the interleukins. So they are interleukins is releasing from the leukocytes. They are releasing from the leukocytes of the immune system, leukocytes of immune system. So their main function, differentiation of the cells, differentiation of the cell. Their main function, differentiation of the cell means, so they are entering into the interleukin 1. Interleukin 1, so they are reaching to the brain hypothalamus, reaching to the brain hypothalamus. They are causing to the fever. They are causing to the fever. They are causing to the fever. So this fever, their body increasing to high temperature, the foreign particles are die. Foreign particles are die. So they are called as interleukins. Next one, interferons. Next one, interferons. Next one, interferons. Interferons. So these are the interferons means, so they are secreted by the infected cells. Interferons is secreted by the infected cells. Interferons is secreted by the infected cells. So these interferons, so they are, for example, so these are the tissue, they are containing cells. For example, this cell is infected, this cell is infected. So this cell releasing from the interleukins, releasing from the interleukins. So these interleukins, they are the prevention of the, so they are neighbor cells. So they are the prevention of the neighbor cells. They are protecting from the neighbor cells. Means the surrounding cells are the protecting from the interferons. So these interferons, they are releasing from the infected cells releasing from the interferons. These interferons function, they are protecting prevention of the collapsing of the surrounding cells, neighbor cells. So they are called as interleukins. They are called as interleukins. Infected cells, they are called as interferons. They are called as interferons. So they are the three types. Interferons are three types: alpha, beta, and gamma. Interferons are the three types: alpha interferons, beta interferons and gamma interferons. Alpha interferons, beta interferons and gamma interferons. So they are the two types of the cytokines. Two types of the cytokines. First one, interleukins. Second one, interferons. Interleukins means interleukin 1, they are reaching to the hypothalamus of the brain. So they are causing to the fever. So the fever means they are high body temperature. This temperature, they are collapsing from the pathogens. Next one, second one is the interferons. So their interferons, these interferons are secreted by the infected cells. So these infected cells secreted from the interferons, so they are protecting the neighbor cells, So they are called as cytokinins and complement proteins.